Hi, it's John from Crafts by John UK, and today I'm going to show you how to make this cute card. It was a weird idea that came to me, a fairy with a glowing purple orb, just set against a background with balls and stars and foliage. I don't know, it came to me and I thought I'm going to make it. So I'll show you how to make it. I used Versafine inks. I used some brushes, I used silver and white Gellipen. I also used some Versafine Clair inks as well, double-sided tape, scalpel, tweezers, bone folder, and I used the Lavinia acetate circle masks and acetate hill masks. If you want to see how I did it, please stay watching. Okay, not much planning has gone into this one. I've literally got a piece of 12 by 17 card and I've got a big pile of stamps and inks around me. I've kind of got an idea of what I want to do, but I haven't really thought too much about it. So this could be quite interesting. I want to create kind of a winter card, and I'm thinking about a fairy with like an icy bubble around it in a winter scene. So what I'm going to do is, the first thing I'm going to do is stamp my fairy. These are mostly Lavinia stamps I'm using today, and I've also got the Lavinia acetate circle masks. So this fairy is Dragonfly Keepers, I think it's called. Yes, which is quite a cute stamp, and it's got this wand which I can use to center my circle. So I'm just going to stick that on a acrylic block and just make sure it's clean, no hairs or anything. And then I'm going to stamp it in blue because I want to do mainly a blue theme. So I'm going to use this Versafine Clair ink. So I'm going to just give that a good ink. That is quite a bright colour, but I think it could be quite good for a kind of icy winter theme. So I need to just work out where I'm going to put this though, because if I want my circle to be roughly in the middle, I need to work out where my wand needs to be. So I think it's going to be about there. Well, it certainly is now. Give that a good press down and just let the ink get taken up by the paper. Let's see what that looks like. Perfect. Although I have got a tiny little line there. I don't know how I managed that. I can fix that. Okay, let me just clean this off. Sorry if I'm coughing in this video, but I've had a terrible cold like many people in the UK. So we're all full of coughs and colds at the moment, which is not fun. Okay, just clean that off and let me put that back on its plastic and back in the packet. Okay, right, so what I'm going to do now, before I do anything else really, is first of all I'm just going to give that a little dry, just to make sure it's dry, using my heat tool. Heat the front, and always heat the back a little bit as well. Okay, so that's dry. Right, now, I haven't really thought too much about how I'm going to actually create this circle, but what I want to do is I want to use blue and purple. This card is mostly going to be blue and purple. So I've got my mulberry and my Della blue. Now, I'm thinking about this. The blue I'm going to use in the layering of the hills. So I'm going to do the edges of this in blue, but mostly purple. And what I want to do, excuse me, is just get a scrap piece of paper, because I need to take a lot of ink off the brush. These Elements inks are very juicy, which is brilliant, but if you want to work with a thinner colour, you kind of need to take some off. So I'm going to start with the purple. I'm just going to hold my mask down. I don't need to stick that. So I'm going to load my brush up, and then I'm just going to take a whole load off, because all I want to do is get a very gentle edge. Now I'm doing this in a kind of circular motion because I'm trying to create like a ball effect. Now what I'm going to do now is take even more of the ink off, and then just going round and round, getting fainter and fainter as I go into the middle. Now what I want to do now is put some more ink just on the very edges, just to really give that a darkened edge. Okay, that's probably enough of the purple. Holding my stencil still in place, I'm now flipping over to the Della Blue, and similarly take my blue, take a load off, and then I'm just going to go in with the blue, but quite lightly, just going around, working my way around. It's good because I stamped it in blue. It's quite good to reuse the same colours, kind of ties it all together. And do you see the difference that's having on the colour? Straight away that mulberry is becoming a slightly different colour because of the blue. So again, just taking that a little bit in. Now, when I take that away, absolutely perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Kind of like a ball. Not quite sure where I'm going with it really, because I haven't really planned this out too well, but you can see I've sort of kind of achieved the effect I was looking for. Right, I'm just cleaning my mask. And what I'm going to do now, and there's my dog barking. Thank you, Oscar. That's really helpful. I'm going to take my hill mask. This is the acetate hill mask set from Lavinia. Really useful. Lots of different sized hills and mountains that you can use to create background effects. Typically, the larger ones go in the background, getting smaller, smaller, smaller as you come towards you. So I'm going to start, but what we want to do here, because we want a blue edge on the edge, if I do it this way round, it'll be blue on the end of the previous area of land. So what I need to do is turn it around that way and do very faint blue on that side. So that's an important one to remember. Always work out which piece you're highlighting before you start. Now, the idea of this is that it's a glass ball. So you will see through it, but you won't see too much through it. So what I'm going to do, just need to find the best placement really. I think I'll be better off with my mountain over this side because I've also got the fairy on this side already. So I'm just going to take my blue. I'm just wondering actually if that blue is a little bit deep, but no, I think it's okay. Right, take my blue, take that off, and then just starting on the template, on the stencil. Just going to work my way around, kind of pulling down. I'm just creating a very subtle hint of colour. Similarly on this side, apologies if my hand is in the way. There you go, and as I get on the edges of the paper, I'll probably give it a little bit more. There we go, and instantly we have some background. Cool, so I'll take my next one, which is this one. And again, think about your positioning. Think about where the things cross over. Think about what that's going to look like. Once it's done, I think that's probably the best fit. There we go. Cool. And again, take your blue and just repeat the process. And what you'll find when you're finished these multiple layers just give it real dimension. They create an effect receding into a background, which is what we're trying to achieve. Again, a little bit bolder at the edges. There we go. So that's 2 of the 3. This is the 3rd. Where am I going to position that? I don't want to create too narrow a gap. Probably, I don't want a line there. That's the thing, yeah. Probably like that. And as I get closer to the front, I'm going to leave it more subtle. In fact, I'm going to go a little bit on the wonk. There we go. And then for my final one, this is going to just be, in fact, I'm not even going to put any more ink on my brush. I'm literally just going to go across this one. There we go, perfect. So ignore this horrible dirty mark that I've created. You've now got a weird kind of effect with the ball and obviously a landscape that recedes into the distance. Okay, that's fine. That's the foreground done and the landscape. So what I'm going to do now is I'm now going to add a load of extra pieces in. So what I want to do is I want to do some of these Lavinia globes in the same purple. There's 3 different sizes in this pack. So I'm going to stamp them individually, but probably stick to mainly the smaller of the 2. So again, I'm going to take my same mulberry and I'm just going to stamp it off, just to take any excess ink off. I'm just cleaning that edge and then I'm going to blop these around. There we go. And I want them quite subtle like that. I want them to be quite faded. In fact, I might use one up here to cover up that mark. There we go. I don't want them symmetrical. There we go. Go, there's a few. Just cleaning this with my wet rag. And then I'm probably going to do a few with the medium size one, but this time I'm going to do it in the blue. But again, I shall stamp it off so that it's quite pale. What's that going to look like? Yeah, that's quite cool. And I'm purposefully stamping over the top of the others. I might just do one on its own. There we go. Again, clean that off, which I'm doing with my cloth. Okay, and that's those done. Okay, now I've got a foliage stamp here, which is, this one is Zen Rose it's called. It has a leaf and like a branch structure, but I'm only going to be using the very tip of the actual branch structure today. So I'm just putting that on the end of my pad, and I'm going to use the same blue colour. So I'm taking the elements, no in fact I'm not, I'm going to use this one here. This is a Versafine Clair Twilight, that's what I'm going to use. I want a slightly different blue, and as this is in the foreground I want it darker. So I'm going to stamp that up, just stamp that off first, and then come in here just with a bit of interesting foliage in the foreground. There we go. Repeatedly stamping that. You can turn it. There we go. You can create quite an interesting effect by just repeating the same thing over and over. There we go. So I've got some foliage now. Just clean that off. And just pop that back on its pad. And what I mean, I could actually use the leaf, I suppose. I've got it here, I might as well. It's a very pink. I've obviously used something pink on it before. And I guess what I would actually do there is go in with another purple. So I've actually got the monarch colour here. So have a look what that looks like. Yeah, quite cool. So stamp bold, but you can also stamp off for a secondary stamp. Turning it around, getting different effects. Might even risk a third stamp there. Okay. There we go, that's a bit of foliage in a slightly different colour. Just put that one away. And sorry, I've got to take my jumper off because I am too hot. And then I've got another foliage stamp here, which I'm going to use. This one is called Orchard Grass. I'm actually going to break the colour pattern here and go with a different colour, just to bring a bit of variety in. So as this is grass, I'm going to do probably verdant in the Versafine Clair. Let's just stamp that first of all and have a look what that looks like. And then I'm actually only going to use the top of it. There we go. So we've now got a few different foreground elements, which is quite good. Now, what I'm going to do in the background, I don't want to add anything hanging down, which is quite common, but what I'm going to do is add some little stars. So as this is a kind of magical look, I've got this tiny little star set here from Lavinia, which is called Star Group Mini. I'm just going to take that, and I think we're going to do this in a, I'm trying to think actually, probably a grey maybe. We've got Morning Mist here, that might be quite nice for a kind of subtle effect, yeah. Stamping off every time. I don't want any bold colours here really. Turning it around as well so they're not all exactly the same. And I'm going to triple stamp that, okay, quadruple stamp that. There we go. There we go. Okay, so that's our main imagery done. Just clean that one up, stick that back onto its plastic. And then pop that back in its packet. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use those same colours that we've used and just give it a bit more edging. So the blue, just going to go in and just darken this up a bit. I'll turn that around because that's getting quite messy. Remember, you can always add, you cannot take away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the blue up to the top of that mountain on the side, and similarly on the other side. And just by going around the edges, just gives it a bit more depth. There we go. A little bit darker at the bottom maybe. And particularly in the corners. Now I'm going to take my mulberry and I'm going to do the same at the top. This one is particularly juicy. So actually I'm going to take a fair bit off that. Lightening the pressure as you go. There you go, a nice fade down to the mountains where it meets the blue. There we go. So we've now got quite a nice image. I wasn't actually too sure where I was going with this when I started, but I quite like it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my white gel pen, which is here. I've got a white and a silver. First thing I'm going to do is add some silver to her wings. You always need to kind of test this before you start. There we go, that's fine. So what I'm going to do is go through just dotting the bits with holes. This is quite a subtle effect, but it's there, and once you see it, you always see it. So I'm not colouring in, I'm just dotting, and I'm leaving little tiny blobs of silver. I don't know if you can see that, but let me hold it up. There we go, I think you can just catch that. Creates quite a pretty effect. And then I'm going to take my white pen and I'm going to draw around the orb just to create the effect that it's actually a circle. But what I'm going to do first of all, just check that's actually working. Which it does not seem to be. Maybe needs warming up. There we go, now we've got some white coming through. Yeah, there we go, cool. Right, so get yourself into a comfortable position where you can follow the lines of the circle. So think about the area you're doing and how your hand is going to move. I'm actually going to just put a piece of paper down there to lean on. Turn the project. Rather than yourself. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go inside and create a few lines inside. This will help create the effect that it's a bubble. Do a line and a little broken piece. There we go. What I'll also do, I think, is just highlight her. So let's just take the white and just highlight the edges that face the middle, because that's where we're saying the light source is coming from. And then colours, but hey. And then what we could do is do some subtle colouring within the bubbles. So I'm just going to draw out my... Actually, I'm going to use pencils for this. Just going to grab some colouring pencils. I've got a very basic purple pen here. What I'm going to do... start in the middle, work my way around. Obviously darker at the edges. Okay, and then I am looking for my, there we go, my Posca pen. I've got a gold here, and I'm thinking to draw some dots. So what I'm going to do is just go around the stars and the globes, just adding some gold dots. This is just extra interest. Gives the card a little more sparkle. How far to bring them down? I think we'll kind of diminish as we get further down. But I want to bring them all around the globe. What I do need to do somehow is ground her, because at the moment she's floating and we can't have floating. So we just need to think how we're going to do that. I think probably using one of the hill masks. Just make sure that's dry, and then what we'll do is just add a little something underfoot. A little bit of blue and a little bit of purple, just to give her, there you go, that's grounded her slightly. Okay, so there's our card, which I think is quite cute, just purely pictorial. You can see all the sparkle of the gold, mainly in a purple and blue colour palette. Okay. Just gonna dirty that edge up a little bit, because I want it to look as if she is standing on something. It's kind of smudged a few of the little golds, but that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to grab some black. And I'm going to put double-sided tape on here. And then I've got my little tweezers, which I'm going to use to pull the tape off. I'm going to just mount this on a basic black background. Black is kind of neutral, but it always finishes a card off to have a layer underneath it. Check which is a good corner. There we go. Just pop that down. Literally just eyeball it. Give that a press on the other side. And then taking my scalpel and my ruler, just going to cut that so it's a fairly even border all around. Then I'm going to put that onto a 12 by 17 card blank, which I am just grabbing one from my drawer. So just a basic white card blank. Using my bone folder just to make sure that that is nicely folded. It's going to look quite cute on there. And then again with the double-sided tape, go. And this time I'm going to use the bunny ears tip, good old Natasha foot. Lay it down, get it into the right place, and then press it down. I always go over with my bone folder just to make sure the layer is fully pressed down. There we go, and there's our card. So lots of sparkle, purple and blue, gold, stars, a bit of foliage. If you enjoyed my card tutorial, please have a look at the others on my channel. I do sell my cards on Etsy, Crafts by John UK, same on TikTok, same on Instagram. And if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. Catch you next time.